This view in Kaneohe just got a $200,000 price reduction.
We're on Oahu in a Kaneohe neighborhood called Ali'i Bluffs, and this home was listed at $2.6 million. A couple of weeks ago, it dropped to 2.4. Now, before you decide whether that's a deal or a stretch, stay with me, because I'm not just going to walk you through the rooms today. I'm going to give you the actual numbers on Ali'i Bluffs. What's really selling here? How few homes actually trade, how this little pocket of Kaneohe stacks up against Ali'i shores, against Kailua, against the rest of Oahu, and why a home in this neighborhood can be priced at more than 2.5 times what its neighbors sell for. By the end, you'll know exactly what you'd be paying for here, and it is probably not what you think. So let's get into it. The first thing to understand about Ali'i Bluffs is where it sits. Windward, Oahu, the green side of the island, right along Kaneohe Bay. Ali'i Bluffs runs along both sides of Kamehameha Highway, and it sits just north of another neighborhood you might have heard me talk about, Ali'i Shores. Same Ali'i name, same bay. But as you'll see in a minute, those two neighborhoods are not playing the same game at all. This particular home is on the mountainside, backing right up to preservation land, and that detail is doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this price. So hold that thought. The home feels private. It's at the quiet end of a cul-de-sac, and it was fully renovated, with the upstairs redone in 2024. You can feel that it's been kept up. There's a separate office tucked off the entry that we'll come back to, and right away, the layout opens up into the main living space. And this is where I want to drop the first real number on you. When you stand in this living area, you're looking straight out at preservation land and the Ko'olau Mountains behind it. Today it's raining, so the Ko'olau Mountains are actually sitting under cloud, but you can imagine it. On a clear evening, this is a sunset and mountain view with nothing built in front of it, and nothing that ever can be, because that's protected land. That is the whole reason this home is priced where it is. Here's the proof. The county assesses this property at about $1.67 million total. But of that, the land alone is assessed at roughly $1.25 million. That means about 75% of this property's value in the county's own eyes is the land it sits on, not the house. And that is the single most important thing to understand about buying in Hawaii. You are very rarely paying for the building. You are paying for the land underneath it and for what's around it. A flat, usable 15,000 square foot lot backing onto preservation with a protected mountain view on the bay side of Oahu. That is a truly rare piece of land. The house is lovely and we'll get to it, but the land is the asset. So if you're watching this home and you want to know what it's actually worth, not the list price, the real number behind it, that's the conversation to have with me directly. I can pull the comparable land sales, the assessment history, and the full picture this video can only scratch the surface of. Just reach out. My contact is in the description and we'll go deeper than any tour can. Now let's talk about that living space itself. It's open concept, with rustic wood beams overhead and bay windows pulling the green in from every direction. The renovated kitchen anchors it, and it's a proper kitchen, with a large island, a marble backsplash, a walk-in pantry off to the side, and a split air conditioning system, which on this side of the island you'll appreciate on the humid days. There's a dishwasher, a full range and stove, a generous refrigerator, even a wine refrigerator. The flow from the kitchen out toward the back is really the point of this home. There's a whole wall of sliding glass doors, and they wrap around the corner, so when they're open, the inside and the backyard basically become one space. That indoor-outdoor living is what people move to the Windward side for, and this home leans all the way into it. Off the main level, there's also a smart little run of practical space, a storage closet, a full-size washer and dryer in a real laundry room, and a half bath right there next to it. So you're not running upstairs every time. Little things, but they're the things you actually live with. Now, before we head upstairs, let me put this home in context, because the number that matters most here is one that almost nobody reads correctly. If you look up the median sale price for Ali'i Bluffs over the last 12 months, single family, you'll see about $912,000. And you'll see that it's down around 40% from a year ago. 40%. If you stop there, you'd think this neighborhood fell off a cliff. It did not. Here's what's really going on. Ali'i Bluffs is what we call thinly traded. Over the last 12 months, only about 3 homes actually closed here. 3. When that few homes trade, the median doesn't measure the market. It measures whichever handful of homes happen to sell. A year ago, the homes selling here were the bigger ones, up in the 1.4 to 1.6 million range. This past year, the ones that sold were the smaller cluster homes, down in the 7 to 900,000 range. The neighborhood didn't lose 40% of its value. The mix of what sold simply changed. This is the trap with small Oahu neighborhoods, and it's exactly why you cannot buy or sell off a median in a place like this. You have to look at the actual homes. So let me show you the actual homes. In Ali'i Bluffs, the bread and butter is a group of smaller homes. A lot of them built in the early 70s in a cluster part of the neighborhood. Those have been selling roughly between $740,000 and around $920,000. Then there's a second tier, the larger detached homes, mostly from the late 60s, a bit over 2,000 square feet on bigger lots. Those have been trading in the 1.4 to 1.66 million range. The single highest sale in this neighborhood in the last 2 years was about 1.67 million. Hold on to that number because the home we're standing in is listed at 2.4. So even after this $200,000 price cut, this home is asking about 44% more than the most expensive home that has actually sold here in 2 years. That's not a criticism. It's just the reality of pricing something that sits in its own tier. There's really nothing else like it currently for sale in the neighborhood. The only other active listing in Ali'i Bluffs right now is a small cluster home around $900,000. Completely different home, completely different buyer. This listing isn't competing with the neighborhood. It's competing with your idea of what 15,000 square feet of protected view land on Oahu is worth. And if you're wondering how that conversation usually plays out, the data here is interesting. When homes in Ali'i Bluffs are priced right, they move fast. A couple of the recent sales here went in under a week, 3 days, 5 days. But the homes that started high tended to sit or get pulled or come down. There's one larger home near here that really shows it. It first listed around 1.78 million, didn't sell. Came back around 1.75, didn't sell, and finally closed at about 1.665 million. So it took roughly $115,000 in cuts across more than one try for that seller to find the market. That's not a knock on anyone. It's just how price discovery works in a neighborhood where buyers can see everything. This home has been out about 35 days and has already made its first move down from 2.6 to 2.4. Whether that's enough is the market's call, and we're watching it happen in real time. The upstairs is where the 2024 renovation really shows. The floors up here are beautiful, and the whole level feels fresh and bright. The primary suite is the star. It opens out onto a big covered outdoor space of the upper level. On a clear morning, with the birds going, this is the kind of spot people build their whole day around. Back inside the suite, there's a flexible bonus area, big enough to be a reading nook, a little lounge, a home gym corner, whatever fits your life. The primary bath got the spa treatment in the remodel. There's a walk-in shower with a window and a freestanding soaking tub, which I'm a sucker for. Double vanity, real storage, and a walk-in closet with serious size to it. The suite essentially lives like 2 rooms, which gives you a lot of ways to use it. From up here, the green just wraps around you. Every window is full of it. There are a couple more bedrooms on this level, and they each have their own personality. One of them has a bold black accent wall and some really creative styling, the kind of flex room that could be a guest room, a studio, an office, whatever you need it to be. There's a linen closet in the hall, another closet for storage, and a second full bath up here. This one with a bright, cheerful color, a shower, a single sink, and good storage. And then, because this home apparently believes you can never have too much workspace, There's a second office area up here as well, a real dedicated spot with its own entrance, the kind of room you'd line with bookshelves and actually get work done in. Between that and the office of the entry downstairs, you've got two genuine work from home spaces in this house, which, post pandemic, is a feature a lot of buyers are hunting for and rarely find. Now, let me bring you back to the market for a second because I promised you the comparison that really tells the story of this neighborhood, and it's a good one. I told you Ali'i Bluffs is sitting around 912,000 on a 12-month median. Now look just to the south at Ali'i Shores, the neighborhood right next door. Same bay, same Ali'i name. Ali'i Shores is sitting at about 1.62 million. That is nearly double Ali'i Bluffs. Same coastline, neighbors on the map, and one trades for almost twice the other. Why? Location within the town. Ali'i Shores sits at the Kailua end of Kaneohe, closer to town, closer to the water access, and it prices almost like Kailua itself, which is running about 1.7 million. Ali'i Bluffs sits further north, a little deeper into Kaneohe, and it trades below not just Ali'i Shores, but below Kaneohe as a whole, which is around 1.25 million, and even below the Oahu-wide median of about 1.13 million. So here's the lesson, and it's true all over this island. The town name on the sign does not set the price. The exact pocket you're standing in does. Two homes can share a name, a bay, and a zip code and be $1 million apart. That's why when somebody tells me they want to buy in Kaneohe, my first question is always which part, because it matters more than almost anything else. And this is exactly the kind of thing you want a real read on before you make an offer anywhere on the Windward side. So if you're weighing a neighborhood right now, message me and let's talk through the specific pocket you're looking at. One more thing on the numbers. A few of the recent sales here closed with seller concessions, a few $1,000s on the smaller homes, closer to $30,000 on one of the larger ones. So even when a home sells, the headline price isn't always the whole story. The real net can land a little lower once those credits are in. It's one more reason to look past the sticker price and at the actual terms of the deal.
Let's head to that separate office I pointed out right at the start, the one with its own private entrance and walls built for bookshelves. I love a room like this. Since remote work became normal, a private, self-contained workspace is one of the first things buyers ask me for, and very few Oahu homes actually have one. A room with its own door means you can work, create, or meet the occasional client without the rest of the house ever knowing it's happening. Just keep in mind the zoning here is residential, so it's set up for living and working from home, not for running a storefront. For someone self-employed or splitting time between the mainland and the islands, a setup like this quietly earns its keep. And it tends to help at resale too because the next buyer is looking for the exact same thing. This room also raises the question every buyer here should be asking. You've heard the old rule, don't buy the most expensive house on the block because your neighbors set a ceiling on your value. Usually that's smart advice, but this home is the exception because you're not really paying for the priciest house here, you're paying for the most land and a protected view that no neighbor can ever build out in front of you. When the premium lives in the land and the location instead of just the finishes, being the top of the neighborhood can actually make real sense. The trick is knowing which one you're looking at, the land play or the overpriced house, and that's exactly the kind of read I help buyers get before they commit to anything. So let's step outside because the grounds are a big part of why this home is priced the way it is. The backyard is private with only one neighboring property on one side and protected land on the other, so it's quiet. The kind of quiet where you just hear the birds. There's a barbecue station, a gazebo, a soaking jacuzzi, and one of my favorite little details, an outdoor shower positioned so that no one can see you except maybe from inside your own house. The grounds are professionally landscaped and there are more than 25 fruit trees on the lot. That's the Windward side dream, honestly. Space, privacy, fruit off your own trees, mountains out every window, and the bay just down the road. Let me leave you with the full picture on this one. This is a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath home, about 2,780 square feet of living space, fully renovated, Upstairs redone in 2024, sitting on a 15,000 square foot lot that backs onto preservation land in Ali'i Bluffs, Kaneohe, here on Oahu. It's listed at 2.4 million, down 200,000 from its original 2.6. For perspective, this same home sold for around 994,000 back in 2010 and about 1.3 million in 2020. And while we're on the numbers, one thing buyers moving here from the mainland always ask about is property tax. On this home, the county tax runs only around $400 a month, which tends to surprise people. And because it's been an owner-occupied home, it's carried a homeowner exemption.
Worth knowing that here on Oahu, your assessment doesn't reset to the sale price the day you close,
the way it does in some states. Every year, the county reassesses homes based on comparable sales nearby, so your taxes don't jump just because you bought. But a single sale can still move the whole street. When a home like this one closes well above what the homes around it are assessed at, it becomes one of those comparables and it can pull those assessed values and the tax bills tied to them up over time. So an outlier sale at this level doesn't just set a record for the neighborhood, it can quietly raise the taxes for everyone around it too.
That's the kind of ripple effect most buyers and most sellers never stop to think about. And here's the last thing worth knowing, especially if you're a buyer. Over the past 2 years in Ali'i Bluffs, several sellers listed and then pulled their homes without ever selling. A couple were canceled, one expired. That tells you this neighborhood doesn't always trade on the open market the way you'd expect. And it means some of the best opportunities here are the homes that aren't actively listed at all. These are the ones that get passed quietly between agents and buyers. And the only way you hear about them early is by having someone on the inside watching for you. That's something I can help with directly. If you'd want me to keep an eye out for off-market possibilities or just want the real numbers on a specific neighborhood before you make a move, reach out. My contact information is right below this video and I'd love to help you make a truly informed decision instead of an emotional one. I'm Oksana with Island Living Oahu. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.